So you've got a new iPad Pro and you need a keyboard. Do you go with the $180 Smart Keyboard Folio or the $300 Magic Keyboard? Now I've given it some thought over the last while, and kind of here are my guidelines when it comes to choosing these products. If you own a desktop, the Magic Keyboard is going to be more useful. If you own a laptop, the Smart Keyboard is going to be handier. Now if you use the Apple Pencil a lot, then go with the Smart Keyboard. If you type a lot, then go with the Magic Keyboard. Now those last two things seem very obvious. The first two are not. So for the remainder of this video, I'm going to step through the differences in terms of design, functionality, and the versatility of Apple's iPad and both these keyboards. And then after all that, we'll talk about the guidelines. At MobileReviewsEh, Monty and I, this dapper looking puppy, base all our reviews on actual usage. Now, our videos will not be the first ones to come out, but you know when these videos come out, they're going to be very, very useful. All right, let's start off with the design differences. My iPad Pro 12.9 inch with the Apple Pencil weighs around 718 grams. The Magic Keyboard is 702 grams and the Smart Keyboard is 413 grams. Basically, you're doubling the weight of the iPad by going with the Magic Keyboard. This extra weight is going to be very noticeable. The iPad attaches similarly to both keyboards through a series of magnets, which is nice. A lot of the other keyboard products require you to use a case or a hinge system, which gets kind of annoying after a while. Next up are the keys. On the Smart Keyboard, you have these softer keys that don't have a lot of click to them. On the Magic Keyboard, well, you get an actual keyboard. Both are full-size keyboards as the distances between the keys are the same, but the Smart Keyboard has slightly better buttons. The last thing I'll mention about the keys is that one will be easier to clean than the other. On the Smart Keyboard, the entire typing surface is one piece, so you can easily wipe it down. I'm sure you could do the same thing with the keyboard on this Magic Keyboard, but I'm way more apprehensive about doing that because, you know, there's gaps that fluid could get in between, and fluid and electronics generally don't mix. The last thing I will note is that this Magic Keyboard feels way sturdier than the Smart Keyboard. I have a speaking glass or screen protector on this iPad Pro, and the cover on the Smart Keyboard moves around quite a lot. It's less noticeable if you don't have a screen protector, but that give is still there. You don't have that same give with the Magic Keyboard. This hinge is the reason why. Now, if you're looking for a screen protector for your iPad, do check out that playlist, as I've been going through the screen protectors that I've been using myself. I've got matte ones, tempered glass ones, hybrid glass ones, they're all there. Now, honestly, my iPad feels rock solid in the Magic Keyboard. This hinge, again, gives it that rigidity that really makes this entire product feel just tight. Now, speaking of the spine, being able to power my iPad through this power port down here on the spine of the Magic Keyboard, totally awesome. I hate having things dangle off the side like you do on the Smart Keyboard. But don't forget that it's plugged in, because about 50% of the time I'll just yank my keyboard off of whatever surface I am and I kind of forget that it's plugged in, so eesh. Now if you're wondering if you could plug a USB-C device into that port, you can't, which sucks, so you're still kind of stuck in dongle hell with the iPad. Also, Apple says you shouldn't connect the iPad to the keyboard, so don't do that. I don't know why. I'm not going to try, because these things are really expensive. So those are the key design differences. Kind of what's the difference in terms of functionality? Well, view angles. On the Smart Keyboard, it's either 110 degrees or 130 degrees. On the Magic Keyboard, it's between 70 and 130 degrees. Now you might be thinking, why would I need a viewing angle less than 90 degrees, Aaron? And that really depends on how much slouching you do or who you're going to FaceTime. 80 degrees is the perfect angle for Monty to FaceTime his human grandparents. I'll also note that the Magic Keyboard is also easier to use with photos, stationary photos we'll say, on a flat surface. I take a lot of those, so the Magic Keyboard, this thing, the rigidity, standing up like that, awesome for photos. My photos anyways. First time watching my videos, I do encourage you to click subscribe. Definitely check out some of my other product reviews for the iPad. I realize I've been slacking a bit when it comes to iPad reviews, and so I've been going full out on the different accessories that you can get for this product. Your breath doesn't smell good, Monty. The last thing about viewing angles is that the Magic Keyboard elevates the iPad about an inch off whatever surface you've got your iPad on, which means that you've got a slightly more neutral gaze. You're not cranking your head all the time like this, you're just slightly cranking your head. Now on to actual typing, and I'll be honest with you, I've been using a Smart Keyboard for years now, and I still can't really get over the feel of it. Keys feel mushy. It's like pureed peas. It's just blah, blah, blah. It doesn't have the same sound as the Magic Keyboard, like the buttons on this product. It's got a nice click to it, so when you're just cruising around typing at 25 words per minute, you're gonna feel way better on this than you would on the mushy keyboard. I will note that this keyboard feels very similar to my laptop. It doesn't have that fancy new keyboard, it still has a shoddy butterfly ones, but this keyboard also feels like the standard Apple keyboard that you get with your Macs. The Magic Keyboard also has backlit keys, so it's going to be handy for people who like to do two-finger poke styling of typing. I will note that Apple keyboards do not have a plethora of shortcuts you would find on other products, which is kind of weird to me because those shortcuts are actually kind of handy. I am going to be doing a deep dive on iPad keyboards, so if you're interested, do check out that playlist. I will be reviewing products from Bridge, Zag, Logitech, and whatever other brands decide to make a keyboard for the iPad. Now on to the most noticeable difference between these two products, which is going to be the color. I kid, it's the trackpad. Does the trackpad on this Magic Keyboard make a difference? It actually does, as long as you get used to using a tiny credit card sized trackpad. This trackpad is basically the biggest reason why I say that a Magic Keyboard is going to be better for a desktop user than a laptop user. If you have or you have used an Apple trackpad recently, you'll kind of feel right at home with the trackpad. All the gestures that you love is going to work on the Magic Keyboard. The only thing you need to remember is that to go home, you need to swipe up with 3 fingers. Getting to your control center is done by hovering over the control center area, and the notification center is accessed in the same manner. Now, it really took me a few days to get used to the smaller area with the laptop because you've got that distance between the end of the keyboard and then the end of the actual device. That trackpad's much larger, and so I found myself just not using the trackpad as much because I kept thinking it was smaller than it actually is, or it wasn't there. So you just kind of have to be very cognizant that you have this really expensive keyboard. Now there's actually a lot of travel on the trackpad, which is a little different. It was hard to get used to because you had to physically press pretty hard to click, but then you can change that in the settings. So, you know, that annoyance disappears. So heads up, you can do that. Now another question you might have is that can this keyboard replace the laptop? And the answer for me, and maybe for you, but for me it's no. I'll elaborate on that in a few minutes. Now between these two products, which one's more versatile? I think it's going to be the Magic Keyboard. I honestly feel that the iPad was easier and better to use with the Magic Keyboard because swapping from an iPad to a touch device to a typing device was like seamless, so easy. Because of the rigid design of the hinge, I was able to pull the device on and off the keyboard without any hassle. Honestly, you're working away and you're like, I need to go read something. You pull it off and this entire setup still stays. So you don't have to get yourself back into position when you want to go and work again. You just kind of plop it in and you just start typing. And it's this seamless integration. Like this just works so incredibly well on this Magic Keyboard. Now to do the same thing with the Smart Keyboard is that, you know, if you feel like you want to not to use the Smart Keyboard, you take it off. The whole thing flops down. In order for you to go use your keyboard again, you got to go install it, turn it back up. You know, this interaction, if you do it enough times, just gets very annoying. Now I know you could say you just do this. And yes, you can, but remember that this keyboard is still 400 grams. The iPad by itself with the pencil is about a little over 700, so you're adding over 50% weight. This will get heavy over time. So how about lap usage? The Smart Keyboard has a lower center of gravity and is centered better, so using the iPad on an unstable surface is a little better, a little bit. But if you're typing with the Magic Keyboard, your palms kind of keep the iPad on your lap. And the cherry on top of using your iPad and the Magic Keyboard on your lap is that you can adjust the viewing angles to suit your preference. You can't do that with this Smart Keyboard. Now let me be clear, neither product is as stable as a regular laptop. So let's clarify my guidelines. These are not rules, these are just things I say to help me kind of distill all the things that I've observed, just kind of like for me to like put my thoughts into different buckets. Now, if you own a desktop, the Magic Keyboard is going to be more useful. Why do I say this? Because the Magic Keyboard won't be that different than your desktop setup. You got a keyboard, you got a trackpad. It's a nice natural step when it comes to computing. Whatever you're doing on your desktop, you can most likely do very easily with the Magic Keyboard. Using the Magic Keyboard is going to provide you with the best that a laptop and an iPad can offer. You can treat your setup more stationary like you would with your desktop and then, you know, move around using the tablet easier and then slap it right back in the exact same spot without having to worry about, you know, setting up your screen again. And again, if you type a lot, Magic Keyboard is hands down the way to go. Now, if you own a laptop, the Smart Keyboard is better in my opinion because using the Magic Keyboard, you're basically just replicating the same computing experience. So why would you spend that money for something that's so similar? Honestly, whatever you can't do with the Smart Keyboard, you could most likely do with your laptop. What you can't do is actually take your laptop even further. What I mean by that is that the iPad with the Smart Keyboard has a smaller footprint so it can go into smaller places. For me, that's the kitchen. Having the Magic Keyboard in the kitchen is just like it takes up like like 50% more space, whereas on the Magic Keyboard, you just kind of tuck it away into something. And as I said before, it's way easier to clean this Smart Keyboard. It's one piece, it gets dirty. When you're cooking, when you're doing pottery, when you're doing art, it's clean. Well, with a rag, not just with your hands. Now, if you do use your Apple Pencil a lot, being able to write or draw with the Smart Keyboard underneath the iPad, to me is akin to having a couple pieces of paper underneath the piece of paper that you're writing on or drawing on. It just kind of gives it that give so that everything doesn't seem so jarring when you're writing. It's not the same with the Magic Keyboard because you take it off, right? And you still got the camera bump to deal with and the entire setup isn't quite level. So that's going to get annoying. So why do I say that the iPad with a Magic Keyboard, this thing, can't replace a laptop? It's close, it could, but for me, I work a lot with external monitors plugged into my laptop, and the only thing you can do with your iPad is to mirror your iPad screen. So that just defeats the point of having a really big monitor, because the only way you can mirror your iPad, you only get the 4:3 resolution. So you've got these like big dead bars along the side. So if Apple could figure out how to do, multitasking on external monitors, this actually might replace a laptop. Might. And that's a really funny thing for me to say because Apple always touts that their graphics have, it's console quality graphics, but it's not powerful enough to power an external monitor. So that's all I got for this video. This is a very intensive video to do because there's just so much stuff to cover. So if you appreciate what I'm doing, share this video with somebody who might be thinking about buying an iPad case, subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know what you guys think. All those interactions help me rank a little better with this video. And honestly, I don't think very many people will go into this type of detail when it comes to comparisons for these products. So, show me some love, guys. This really bothers me. Like, that doesn't seem level. Like, nothing up the background seems level, and it bothers me a lot. Pretty close, but it shouldn't be that bad. And I'm also going to talk about the function. And if that wasn't enough to make your mind, oh, I'm not fucking recording. So those are kind of the differences.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Now let me, breathing so loud. I'm trying to block it out, but I can't because it's just right here, Monty. Right here.